Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our webinar today. I'm Elisa Adriano, a marketing specialist at XenData, and I have with me Phil Story, XenData CEO, and Andrew Ward, who is the Business Development Manager of Cinegy. Today, they will be talking about Cinegy and XenData Platform 1 in detail. If you have any questions at all during the presentation, feel free to use the questions box located in your GoToWebinar control panel, and we will go over as many of them as we can during our question and answer session at the end. So let's start things off with a short video, and then after that, I will hand it over to Andrew. For many organizations, the sheer volume of video files creates challenges associated with storing, organizing, finding, and reusing their media assets. The conventional approach is to install shared disk storage, a media asset management server, and an archive server, which brings its own challenges when it comes to getting these components to work harmoniously together. Cinegy Platform 1 from XenData and Cinegy provides an integrated solution that combines all these elements on one powerful server. Cinegy Platform 1 is a media asset management system based on Cinegy archive software and includes Cinegy Convert and Cinegy Desktop. Cinegy Convert. This is Cinegy's server-based transcoding and batch processing service. Cinegy Desktop is a MAM client that provides the user interface for an impressive array of functionality, including storyboarding, timeline editing, edit while ingesting, mixed SD, HD, UHD editing, metadata management, video effects, FX Manager, multicam editing, extensive search, team collaboration, and instant messaging between clients. So I will now hand it over to Andrew.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mastering Media Management with Platform 1 from Cinegy and XenData. We're here to talk about this combination of hardware and software that has been designed to make production as straightforward as possible in the 21st century. So the first thing that we need to ask is, what's been the way things are up to now? What's the state of play? So in the world of production, practically nobody uses tape anymore at the top level. Tapeless production is now the standard, and collaborative production is a reality. So you don't get people hunched around video cassettes anymore. You can be working with files. Files are, in any case, a much safer medium than tape because they can be copied limitlessly without any generational loss, which used to be a big problem back then, as my grey beard remembers. Also, metadata has considerably changed the game. In the olden days, in tape-based productions, your metadata was written on the label of the tape or on the box. So whatever space was available was what you had. Now you can attach all relevant information to your essence and use that to find it, sort it, organize it, and so it makes production a lot more straightforward than it used to be. And finally, standard PCs are now performing at a level that it means standard production on standard PCs is easier than it ever was. So when all of these things are looked at together, what's the problem? And the problem is the devil is in the details. Yes, video as a file is extremely useful and flexible, but full-size videos are full-sized. You're going to need gigabytes of space to store even small ones, and they will very quickly fill up any storage that you might have available if you're not careful. With 1 terabyte of storage, you've got 40 hours of full resolution HD using XDCAM, 30 hours if you're using ProRes. And if you're going to be working with UHD and 8K, which are at least going to be mezzanine formats for a time to come, and UHD as a broadcast format, you're going to need more storage than that. Multi-user environments on the top of it also need bandwidth, network bandwidth, to be able to keep moving stuff around. And if you're working with big essences, then you're going to end up with big production files. So these are all things that you're going to have to bear in mind when you're looking at a modern workflow. And our solution to that is Platform One. We see Platform One as being the perfect answer to these things because it offers you initially plenty of disk space, as much as you would like. It also offers a fully integrated LTO library together with it. One server with both storage and media management software, that's to say our Cinegy archive and XenData's software. And this builds us a system which has absolutely no need for user intervention at any point. You can simply present the environment to your creatives and let them loose on it without them worrying about them needing to know stuff or deleting files or anything like that. You are in control. And both the Cinegy archive software and the underlying Platform One, the XenData system underneath it, are easily expandable. And expandable to any size that you like. We can go from one user to hundreds of users. And indeed, we do have people out there using hundreds of users on our systems. From XenData's point of view, the proposition includes a top-of-the-line enterprise Hewlett-Packard server. It includes disk shelves and the LTO library together with the XenData management software that holds it all together. The LTO is tuned for media, so it gets you your content back as quick as possible from the tape. And as you can see from the map, all of those baked beans are XenData customers, so they are absolutely everywhere. It's clearly, as I'm saying here, it's a trusted solution by a lot of media professionals already. So, looking at what we have to offer, Cinegy in this scenario, the front end, the actual production tool, which was so nicely described in the video, can be seen here in all of its glory. We can see a selection of the things that are available. We can see the media up in the left, on the left side there. And as you can see, it's just media. It's not folders, it's not disks, it's just what the creative needs. He doesn't have to go looking for it, it's laid out there right in front of him. We have a clip bin in which you can storyboard and you can also do preliminary cuts to get the story right before you move down to the timeline, which you can see at the bottom, which can be expanded with as many audio and video tracks as you need. And then floating on the top, we see one example of how the Platform One system helps production by making sure that your footage is always the footage that you need. This is a shot of our media cleaner setup, and our media cleaner is a little piece of automation that will allow you to age out old footage, move it to tape. Once it's moved to tape, we've still got it, it's still there. If you need to use it, then simply select it in desktop and it will be brought back in the background. Nobody needs to do anything about it, but it makes sure that only the footage that you are going to be using or that you have used is being retained on the system, and the footage that you haven't used, you can move away from your disks to, well, to the rubbish bin or to the tape drive, depending on what the nature of the footage is. So this is the front end from the Cinegy point of view. The back end is the Cinegy. Oh, there we are. I actually did some extra words here. To sum it up again, we have the infinitely scalable production environment from a single user to hundreds. Record and transcode capabilities are built in via drag and drop and by calling up an ingest menu when you need it. There is a complete toolbox for editors, including effects, accelerated by NVIDIA graphics cards. It offers a collaborative workflow with messaging and with the possibility that everybody on the team can see what the other members are doing. And most of all, we have proxy-based editing that has no rendering. This serves two purposes. The first purpose is that you are not going to need to have space for a big final file. In our system, the productions made in the MAM are based around cuts in database commands that make cuts in the original footage. So your output is pulled just from the content that's already in there. There is no need to render an additional file, so you are saving time. And as soon as you click off the timeline, if you wish, you can go straight to air in our Cinegy Air Playout system, which we're not talking about today. But so these are all the benefits of the Cinegy desktop that provides the front end. The picture here shows Cinegy Archive, the back end. Here we can see the page in the Cinegy Net Archive Manager, which manages the storage. You can see the various storage spaces that are available. You can also see that they're currently pointing to local disk because this is off of my demo system and I don't have a NAS here. Nonetheless, these network shares that are provided are a basis. They can be added, moved around. You can decide what you want to keep on there. You can use different storage tiers in this structure already. However, a very effective way of doing it, using it, is to use our automated content management system, which is our Cinegy file service. And this bland grey square in the front there shows you how you can configure the Cinegy file service and how you can make it do the things that you need it to do. So again, we have some more detail on that here. As mentioned, built-in support for tiered storage, which is actually standard Windows support for tiered storage, but it works for XenData and it works for us, so it's absolutely fine. There is no additional shims or drivers or anything needed. We are working purely with Windows. The XenData simulation is seamless from the user's point of view. They would not necessarily even know that they are working with XenData storage, and creatives tend not to care about that kind of stuff anyway. We have also our multi-resolution ingest. Now, the benefits that brings you are that you can simultaneously create your full fat version and at the same time a lower resolution version to work from. Editing in Windows on a PC monitor, you can get every bit as good quality in a low resolution version, which also at the same time is pulling a lot less data through your network. But that matters a lot if you have dozens or hundreds of users, because otherwise you might run the risk of swamping your network. We also have fine-grained user control to allow for a tight workflow design. That means that you can ring-fence the different areas of production and ensure that only the specialists have access to the tools that they need, and there is no danger of people who perhaps don't have that expertise doing damage. And finally, standard IT hardware and software based. So if you need bigger servers, there is a whole range out there to choose from. All of your networking, all of your cabling, switches, etc., all standard off-the-shelf computer hardware. No proprietary stuff required at all. Perhaps if you need baseband, that would be it. But for the rest, you can do absolutely everything on standard PCs with the cost benefits that brings you. So Platform 1, therefore, represents the total package. One call gets it all. Either talk to us or talk to your XenData representative, if you have one, to ask about this. When you take delivery of your Platform 1 system, what you are getting is the XenData software installed with the system set up, and the Cinegy software installed and licensed, but not configured, because there are issues that need to be addressed in terms of workflow and how you want everything organized and what your metadata schema is going to be and so on. If you are already clued in as to how that's going to work for you, that's great. And if not, you could talk to Cinegy Professional Services who can help you with workflow consultancy and design as you need it. And I would just add another word about professional services, as this is a generally useful thing that we have available for you. You can have general advice workflow consultancy, system design, installation services, scripting and training, all done by our guys. And since clearly they are Cinegy experts, it's a quick way of getting that expertise, particularly if you are new to the Cinegy universe. Drop a mail to ps@cinegy.com and they'll be able to help you. And thank you very much for that. Here are send any questions to sales@cinegy.com. And now I should be handing over to my worthy constituent, Mr. Phil Story in Canada, who will talk to you about XenData.
Thanks, Andrew. The best way to describe XenData is as a multi-tier storage provider, and we focus on the needs of the media and entertainment industry. We're best known for our digital video archives that store files on LTO and have a disk caching storage tier. In addition to our traditional LTO video archive products, a fast-growing part of our business is multi-tier hybrid cloud storage solutions. These support storing content in cloud object storage and keeping frequently accessed files on on-premises RAID. Our cloud solutions also support a global file system where users, no matter where they're located, can access their media files and can collaborate on projects. As Andrew mentioned, Platform One is a joint solution. It includes a high-performance server, a scalable LTO library, and an optional high-capacity RAID. First, the server. It's a high-performance machine. It runs Windows Server 2019, and it's the platform for XenData and Cinegy software, which is pre-installed and licensed prior to shipment. The server includes an SSD RAID that's used by the XenData software as a fast cache. It allows you to get more out of the LTO library. For example, it allows frequently accessed files to be retained on cache, taking the load off the LTO library. And when the system is very busy, restores are prioritized. It allows all the LTO drives to be used for file restores, and this happens completely automatically. And this exclusive use of all the drives for restores is completely automatic, and it works even when files are actually being archived, because they're just being archived to the SSD RAID, which buffers them up, and then once drives become available, they get archived, they get written later. Platform One includes a highly expandable LTO library. As a general comment, the biggest reason for moving to LTO is the much lower cost per terabyte than conventional shared disk storage. And a further big advantage of LTO is its stability and longevity. It's a very stable storage medium with a 30 years data life. The LTO library provided with Platform One is highly scalable. It starts at just 360 terabytes, and by adding 6 RU rack mount expansion modules, it can be scaled all the way up to 6.6 petabytes. So it grows as your storage needs increase. A key feature of Platform One is the ability to configure the system to automatically replicate LTO cartridges. You can then export replica copies from the library and treat them as your backup copy, ideally keeping them in an offsite location. There's also an option to add a fast RAID volume, an LTFS volume, which scales from 180 terabytes to 280 terabytes. It's cost-effective yet high performance. It's shared disk storage, which is direct attached. And this means that there's no network traffic when moving files between the shared disk storage and the archive. Yet another option is to replicate to cloud object storage. We currently support AWS S3, Azure Blob Storage, and Wasabi S3. Now, it's actually much lower cost to use the automatic LTO replication that I mentioned earlier than to use cloud, replicating to the cloud. But cloud storage has got a number of advantages. One is that all content is immediately backed up offsite instantly, whereas with LTO, you need to wait until the state of duplicating, that you need to wait until the 2 cartridges become full, and then a human being needs to take it and put it off site. And also, the having a copy in the cloud is great from a DR perspective, in as much as no matter where your DR site is, and maybe it's a site that you can put in place with a different provider, and all of your content is then available within the cloud, no matter where that DR site is located. And I just want to finish by referring to the Cinegy XenData relationship. We've worked together for many years and have many shared values. From a product's point of view, the fact that we're both committed to standards brings us together. Cinegy uses our file system to archive and restore media, which means that our products interface in a very, very standardized way. We've got many joint installations around the world, and this slide just shows a few of them. The first one listed here is the Public Broadcasting Service in the US, which has been using the joint system for many years now. It's a large system with 2 clustered servers just for running the XenData software and managing the LTO library. And then in addition to that, it's got many other servers running Cinegy software. So this is one example where Platform 1 wouldn't actually meet the requirements. But of course, for cases like this, we're very happy to configure an appropriately scaled system. So with that said, let's move on to see whether we have any questions. Lisa?
Thanks, Phil. So we do have one question so far, which is, does the XenData archive write in LTFS?
Yeah, it does. So this comes back to the point about standards. In as much as LTFS was invented by IBM back in 2010, and it's really been adopted by a very large number of companies. And there is interchange between different companies' systems, so long as they're using LTFS. Now, probably 30% of the systems out there are still proprietary. And for most people in the media and entertainment industry, you just don't know how long you want to keep it. You want to keep it forever. And so being able to have a standardized format, that means, because you don't know whether you're going to replace your Cinegy XenData system in 10 or 20 years, it's great to be able to have all of your media written in a standardized way. And we have many customers that have thousands upon thousands of tapes. So super important.
Thanks, Phil. So that was the only question we had so far, but was there anything you guys would like to add before I wrap things up?
Well, it was interesting that, as Phil points out about IBM and LTFS, one of the things that I remember about IBM was a few years ago was that they had this this big saying about it's all data. And it was their way of making people realize that they could get IBM to do all sorts of great things for them. Good slogan. Now, I think it's about 30 years on from that slogan, I can say it's all data and metadata. And it's the control of both of those things that makes both Cinegy and XenData able to do the things that they can do with your media. And so, yeah, since it's all just data and metadata, let's just run it all on standard hardware and save ourselves a fortune.
Any other questions, Elise, or are you going to wrap it up?
There's a few that came in, so I'll go ahead and ask those.
Oh, excellent.
So the next one is, related to cloud options, is it possible to use cloud as a storage area, not only a replication?
Yeah, it is actually. It's funny. We provided just a cloud kind of proof of concept to a customer that's been using our product for 9 years, LTO based, that is. And they were, wow, it's just like LTO. And it is. So the approach we take is you have like an ultimate storage location, which if it's LTO, it's LTO. Or if it's cloud, it's cloud. Everything works just the same way. So absolutely, it would be possible to do that. But the key thing is you have to look at the economics. If I had less than 100 terabytes, I would go cloud, because you don't have to buy kind of hard storage specific hardware particularly. But when you do the math and you work out the relative costs, and there's a blog which I wrote, which is up on our website, which goes through the real numbers. If you've got a petabyte, then it will cost you about 4 to 5 times more to use cloud than to use LTO. Having said that, we have got some big users that are using, that have got, I can think of a few companies that have got a few petabytes, and they've decided to go that route, even though it costs them more. But yeah, the answer is yes, you can.
Great, thanks, Phil.
And I would also just throw in that you can run all the Cinegy software in the cloud as well. All works fine. So yeah.
Good to know. Thanks, guys. Then the next question is, can existing third-party storage be used?
One for you, Phil.
Well, so it depends what you're talking about. If we take that option for a big LTFS volume, which I mentioned, 180 to 280 terabytes, entirely optional. You can use anything that you have. And it doesn't have, it actually can be a little proprietary, you know, it could be an Isilon or something like that. Certainly from our perspective, I think probably true for Cinegy. I don't know whether that's true. And then when it comes to LTO, then we support a very broad range of LTO libraries, pretty much everything apart from some of the tiny little autoloaders. And so we support hardware from HP, Dell, IBM, Oracle, Overland, Quantum, Qualstar, Spectra. So we have really good coverage, and we're totally happy. If a customer already has hardware or they just have a preference for something else, we're totally happy using that.
Thanks, Phil. And then the next question and the last question is, does the Platform One system make use of the archive bit flag? If so, can you explain how this bit is used and any implication?
All right, so that's someone who knows all the details. Very switched on question.
Yes.
Question. So, so just to explain,
the answer is yes, it does.
yeah. But just to explain what that means. So, writing to a XenData LTO archive system or cloud is just like writing to disk. The file goes onto that caching layer. It gets another instance gets put onto LTO if you're replicating to LTO cartridges, and then this is all policy driven, but often as soon as the file is safely on its designated LTO destinations, it changes on the cache, otherwise you'd fill the cache. It changes to a stub file, which only takes maybe 4 KB, it's a very small amount of space. But it's got all the same characteristics as the original file. As far as the application is concerned, as far as Cinegy is concerned, it can look at it and say, okay, that's a 2.3 gigabyte file, its creation date doesn't change, etc. The only thing that changes is an attribute which Microsoft invented. It's called the offline attribute. And if you were looking with Windows Explorer, then you would the icon representing the file, and it would have a little cross over it, because that's how File Explorer reacts to the offline attribute. So it's a great way to be able to just look at the file system and say, oh yeah, I can see that that file is safely on LTO, because it would never be turned into a stub file unless it were safely on LTO, and but it's not immediately available. And then Cinegy then takes that into account.
Indeed. So from our point of view, when you bring media into the Cinegy archive, you're bringing in your low resolution version for browsing and editing and whatever, and your full fat one as well. Once it's off on the LTO, we see that as an offline file. But as far as our software is concerned, it's just there. You would do all of your production work with your lower res versions, which are still available from hard drive. And then when the time comes to conform or to move to our playout system, then the relevant high resolution essences will be automatically retrieved. This is completely transparent. The users would probably not even be aware of it. The only issue would be the amount of time that it takes to be retrieved, but XenData have taken a great deal of effort to minimize that. We're talking about minutes here, seconds and minutes, rather than any significant amount of time. But the whole thing is, from a user point of view, completely transparent. As I mentioned before, the user doesn't know where the files are. The user also can't delete the files, which is kind of nice. They would have to have administrative privileges. So yeah, so from our point of view, we can know that that big essence is offline, but we will get it when it's needed. And until it's needed, it stays on tape.
Thanks, guys. Another question came in, and it is in regards to Cinegy. So using Cinegy, is it possible to restore only specific time duration from a file instead of all duration?
Actually, that's although it's a Cinegy question, that's really a XenData question. Partial restores. The answer is yes, we do have support for partial restores, but much like another question that we had earlier in the day, the real answer to that is how long is a piece of string? The question is, what do you need to retrieve, etc., etc. From the point of view, if we look at it from a production point of view, if you were, let's say you have a large essence that is sitting on tape and you have worked with the proxy to create your production, when the time comes, we will pull the pieces that we need from the tape that are used in the production. So that's how that works. So yes, it is possible to do that.
And just from a XenData perspective, yeah, Cinegy is doing the heavy lifting, if you like, in terms of defining what it needs within the file, headers, portions of a file between timecode A and timecode B. Cinegy, like any application, sends us the request for those portions of the file, and we deliver them without having to read the whole file. So, based upon byte offset, just the standard XenData system will support partial file restore.
Great, thanks. And that's all the questions we have for today. So I'll go ahead and wrap things up. But if any other questions come to mind, you're more than welcome to email us. Our email address is XenData@XenData.com, and Cinegy's email address is sales@Cinegy.com. Thank you all again for joining us today, and also a big thanks to our presenters, Phil and Andrew. I'll be ending the webinar now. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, folks. See you next time. Bye-bye.